It was supposed to be just another day at the dealership, police car light. But when John Cena walked in undercover, what he discovered behind the shining chrome and polished glass wasn't just about motorcycles, it was about betrayal, corruption, and a secret network that could destroy everything he had built. Backhand index pointing right, stay with us till the end, because the shocking truth he uncovered that night is one of the most powerful stories of justice, loyalty, and redemption you'll ever hear. Sparkles your line. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because tomorrow will bring you an even more powerful story just for you. And tell us in the comments below, where are you watching from? John Cena stood in front of the bathroom mirror, barely recognizing the man staring back. Gone was the polished actor, the red carpet regular, the motorcycle mogul with a quiet legacy. What he saw now was a tired-looking guy in a scuffed leather jacket, 3-day stubble, and a ball cap pulled low enough to hide the years in his eyes. He dressed down for many roles in his life. But this one wasn't for a camera. This was personal. This was undercover. They said you could get any bike here for half price if you knew the right guy. No paperwork, no trail, just cash, a handshake, and silence. John Cena was about to walk into his own dealership and find out what was rotting behind the chrome. 3 nights ago, he couldn't sleep again. Not because of movie scripts or charity events, but because of a spreadsheet. John Cena had founded Cena Motors over a decade ago, a boutique motorcycle dealership that blended craftsmanship, integrity, and his own quiet obsession with 2 wheels. But lately, the numbers had started whispering. Not shouting, just whispering. A dip in customer satisfaction. A couple of inventory misplacements that didn't add up. A sense that something had shifted while he was busy being the face of the brand. That whisper wouldn't let go. So here he was now, in a motel off the interstate, adjusting a pair of fake prescription glasses and brushing dust on his boots. That morning, he pulled into the customer lot. Not the reserved spot with his name on it, just a regular spot, like any guy who had saved up for a dream bike. He had rehearsed his story over and over. Kyle Benson, a software engineer who had just cashed in some stock options and was ready to chase his midlife crisis with the BMW S1000RR. Safe, bland, believable, the kind of guy you wouldn't look twice at. The dealership hadn't changed in layout. Glass facade, sun glinting off polished chrome, leather and metal scent drifting through the air like a showroom cologne. But standing at the threshold, something felt off. Maybe it was him. Maybe it was the burden he carried under his jacket, the fear that someone inside had turned his vision into a shell. He walked in slow, shoulders loose, eyes scanning without moving too fast. And then a familiar voice caught him off guard. "Welcome to Cena Motors. Anything I can help you find today?" The young woman at the counter was sharp, bright-eyed, confident. Her name tag read Rachel. John Cena had seen her file a few weeks ago. Recent hire, strong references, quick learner. But this was their first face-to-face meeting. She didn't recognize him, of course. That was the point. He gave her a light smile. Just browsing for now. Been saving for this moment a long time. He pitched his voice a little higher, softer than his real self. Rachel nodded warmly. "You picked the perfect day. We just got the new Panigale V4R in. If you're into sport bikes, it's a work of art." She stepped aside, giving him space. No pressure, polite distance. That impressed him. For the next hour, John Cena walked the floor like a customer. Some staff, like Rachel, offered genuine answers and enthusiasm. Others felt rushed, mechanical, as if every interaction had a clock ticking behind it. And while he played the role of Kyle Benson, John Cena was already taking mental notes. Something inside this place wasn't right. For nearly an hour, John Cena drifted through the polished showroom like any other customer. He asked questions, sometimes deep, sometimes basic. Rachel answered with genuine enthusiasm, sharing her own experiences with bikes. Others, however, treated him like just another wallet, polite smiles hiding impatience, their words mechanical, as if a clock was ticking behind every conversation. Eventually, he circled back to a limited edition BMW, the very model he had personally influenced years ago when the design team asked for his input. He crouched beside it, fingers trailing across the contours as though greeting an old friend. "Mind if I sit on this one?" he asked. That's when Tom, the sales manager, appeared. Polished suit, slick smile, confidence sharpened like a salesman's blade. "Of course, sir," Tom said smoothly, eyes flicking to the worn edges of Cena's jacket. "Give me a second to grab the keys." John Cena didn't miss that flicker of judgment, the quick glance that sized him up and dismissed him in the same breath. It was subtle, but it told him something. He mounted the bike, settling into the seat. It felt perfect, familiar. The hum of memory lingered in the metal beneath him. Tom leaned closer. "Between you and me," Tom whispered, "I might be able to shave a little off the sticker price. The owner's a numbers guy, but I've got some room to work." Cena nearly laughed at the irony, but kept his face calm. The haggling began. Tom used every textbook sales tactic: scarcity, urgency, fake rapport. Slick but not sloppy. Yet Cena could feel him skirting the edge of company policy, pushing for a deal that didn't smell right. And then it happened. Two customers, wandering too close behind him, dropped their voices low, but not low enough. "You know the right guy?" one murmured. "You get it for half. No tax, no trail." "Ray's still doing it?" "Yeah. Off the books. Just gotta know when to come." The words hit John Cena like a punch to the chest. His grip on the handlebars tightened, knuckles whitening under the fake dirt he had rubbed into his hands. He adjusted the mirrors, pretending to admire the bike, but his attention was razor sharp. He didn't even hear Tom's next sentence. His mind was already racing. Not again. Someone inside was stealing from him. From his house. And if those whispers were true, it wasn't just one man. It was a network. John Cena slid off the BMW slowly, masking his thoughts with the casual hesitation of a first-time buyer. "I'll need to think on it," he said lightly. "It's a lot of money. I just want to be sure." Tom nodded smoothly, slipping him a business card. "Of course, take your time." But inside, Cena's calm mask was cracking. His mind burned with the whispers he had just overheard. Someone in this dealership, his dealership, was selling bikes out the back door. He walked the showroom like Kyle Benson, the hesitant customer. But behind the fake glasses and dusty boots, every sense was sharpened. His eyes tracked the two men from earlier. One wore a leather vest, arms inked with faded tattoos like scars of forgotten battles. The other, dressed in spotless sneakers, designer jeans, and a flashy gold watch that screamed money, didn't belong here. Cena drifted toward a gleaming 1968 Triumph Bonneville, running his fingers across the polished tank as though admiring its history. But his ears strained, tuned only to the voices behind him. Ray said he could mark it damaged. Tattoo arms muttered. Bike vanishes on its way to the repair center. Then bam, it shows up in your garage. No papers. Flashy watch chuckled low. So what? You just hand him 40 grand and pray it doesn't disappear? He's done this a dozen times, Tattoo Arms replied. No heat. No paper trail. Trust me. Ray's solid. The name landed like a hammer blow. Ray Navarro. Cena's warehouse manager. Loyal, dependable, or so he thought. The man who stayed late to count inventory. The man who had suggested new software. The man John himself had written a Christmas bonus check for. And now his name was tied to theft. Cena clenched his jaw, forcing his expression neutral. He continued to circle the Triumph, pretending to admire its curves. But his pulse raced like an engine on the red line. If Ray was in on this, how deep did it go? Was it just him, or an entire web? Did Tom know? Were others in on it? Every smile on this floor suddenly looked like a mask. John Cena moved with the slow certainty of a man pretending to browse, but inside, his pulse thundered. The Triumph's polished chrome blurred in his vision as the whispers replayed in his mind. Ray Navarro. Warehouse manager. Trusted. Loyal. Or so he thought. He drifted toward the vintage section, keeping the two men in his peripheral vision. Tattoo Arms leaned against a display rack, lowering his voice. Ray can make anything vanish. Marks it as damaged, runs it through the system, and by the time anyone checks, it's gone for good. Flashy Watch grinned, flipping through a glossy catalog. And the best part? Clean papers. It's like buying straight off the showroom, except you don't pay showroom prices. Cena's grip tightened on the edge of the display, his knuckles pale under the dirt he'd rubbed onto them that morning. He forced himself to breathe. He couldn't move too fast. One wrong step and the whole thing would scatter, like cockroaches under a light. He circled slowly, studying another bike. His thoughts churned. If Ray was running side deals, how many others were involved? Was Tom in on it? Were the transport guys? How many nights had this happened while Cena smiled in commercials and gave speeches about trust and integrity? From the corner of his eye, he caught movement. Tattoo Arms pulled out his phone, showing a contact. Ray's number. Meet him behind the service lot. 11 p.m. 40 grand for that Ducati. Cena's breath caught. His heart hammered. The Ducati Panigale V4R had just arrived last week. Retail, nearly $80,000. Half off. No trail. This wasn't sloppy theft. This was organized crime, running quietly under his own roof. He turned away, jaw tight, scanning the floor as if browsing. Rachel passed by, her smile practiced, her voice bright as she welcomed another customer. She looked genuine, professional, trustworthy. But now every gesture felt like a question mark. Was she part of this too? Or just another pawn on the board? John Cena stepped away from the vintage bikes, steady on the outside but burning inside. His cover as Kyle Benson had to hold, hesitant, curious, harmless. But behind the glasses, his eyes tracked every move on the floor. Rachel reappeared at his side, cheerful as ever. Admiring the Ninja? She asked, nodding at a Kawasaki nearby. That one's a weekend rider's dream. Cena forced a smile. These older bikes just tell stories, you know. Rachel nodded knowingly, launching into a polished history of the model. Her knowledge impressed him, but it also unsettled him. If Ray had planted her here, then every word was part of the act. Over her shoulder, Cena caught sight of Tattoo Arms shaking hands with Tom. Flashy Watch hovered close, smirking. Tom handed them each a business card. "We'll be back soon," Tattoo Arms called. "Got a few more bikes to test first. Gotta shop around, right?" Tom chuckled, slick as ever. "Always smart. We'll be here." Cena's stomach turned. He watched them stroll out through the glass doors, casual as Sunday shoppers, while underneath they were thieves planning to bleed his legacy dry. Rachel excused herself to greet another customer. Cena took the moment to breathe. Stay calm. Don't blow cover. 10 minutes later, he was seated in a corner booth of a small cafe 2 blocks away. Laptop open, coffee untouched, his mind raced. He dug into dealership inventory logs, eyes narrowing. Ray's fingerprints were everywhere. Entries too perfect, dates too clean, diagnostic codes repeated like someone had templated them. Every Tuesday, every Thursday, always one high-end bike. Always marked damaged. Always gone. It wasn't just theft. It was a machine. A ghost system humming inside his own house. And worst of all, he recognized the design. Ray had built it using John Cena's own systems. John Cena leaned back in the cafe booth, eyes fixed on the glowing laptop screen. The logs were flawless, too flawless. No typos, no irregularities, no human fingerprints. It was a system designed to fool even him, the man who built the foundation. His phone buzzed on the table. A new message. Unknown number, meet tonight. 11 p.m. service lot. Bring cash. Cena's stomach tightened. They had pulled his number from the customer card he'd filled out earlier. They thought he was Kyle Benson, the midlife crisis engineer with money to burn. They were inviting him in. He exhaled slowly, forcing down the fire rising in his chest. This wasn't just a scam anymore. It was proof. And maybe his only chance to see the entire network in action. By 10:45 that night, Cena sat in a rented sedan 3 blocks from Cena Motors. Dark clothes, collar rigged with a hidden micro camera, voice recorder clipped inside his jacket, burner phone in his pocket. The same kit he had used years ago to help expose a charity fraud overseas. But this time, it wasn't strangers. This time, it was his own house. The service lot behind the dealership glowed dim orange under half-dead floodlights. A black Honda Civic sat parked by the warehouse entrance. Ray Navarro's car. Cena's jaw clenched as the side door opened. Ray stepped out, phone pressed to his ear, pacing with sharp, nervous movements. The man who once stayed late with a loyal smile now looked like someone running out of time. A second figure appeared, Rachel. Gone was the bright smile, replaced with a hard, cold edge. She was dressed in black, her face lit by the glow of her phone screen. The two of them argued in hushed tones. She pointed at something on her phone. Ray threw his hands up, frustrated. Then, at 10:55, headlights swept across the lot. A white van rolled in, engine low, lights off. It backed up to the loading dock. 2 men climbed out, moving fast. One carried a clipboard. The other pulled a motorcycle wrapped in blankets from inside. Even covered, Cena knew it instantly. The Ducati Panigale V4R. His showroom jewel. From his vantage point behind a row of dumpsters, John Cena zoomed in with the tiny lens of his hidden camera. Faces. License plates. Time stamps. Every detail recorded. The van crew moved fast, unloading another covered bike. A second vehicle pulled in, then a third. Engines idled low, conversations sharp and tense. This wasn't a casual side hustle, it was an evacuation. They weren't stealing a bike tonight. They were clearing the house. Cena's breath fogged in the cool night air. He whispered into his recorder, cataloging every move. His instincts screamed, they know the clock's running out. And then another car pulled in. Cena's chest went cold. A familiar SUV. Marcus Doyle. His head of security. The man he had trusted for nearly a decade. The one who oversaw every camera, every alarm, every digital lock. Marcus stepped out, shook Ray's hand, and pulled forged paperwork from his back seat. Shipping forms disguised as repair orders. Beside them, Rachel crossed her arms, scanning the lot like a lookout. Cena's jaw clenched. Ray ran the warehouse. Rachel worked the floor. Marcus held the keys to the entire system. It was a triangle of betrayal, and he was staring at it with his own eyes. At 11:05, the side door opened again. Tom, the sales manager, stepped out with a stack of contracts under his arm. New digital inventory documents, the ones set to go live tomorrow. Contracts that would have locked every bike in GPS tracking, sealing every loophole. That's why they were rushing tonight. This was their last grab before the system shut them out forever. Cena's thumb hovered over his phone. One tap, and the police sergeant he had briefed earlier would swarm the lot in minutes. Sirens, cuss, justice. But his gut told him to wait. And that's when the night exploded. Headlights tore across the far fence. Blue and red strobes lit up the darkness. Sirens wailed. A voice boomed through a megaphone. "This is the police. Hands in the air. Do not move." Panic detonated like gasoline catching fire. Men shouted. Tires screeched. People ran in every direction. Ray shoved a duffel bag into Marcus' hands and bolted for the fence. Rachel dove behind a van. Tom froze, papers slipping from his hands, eyes wide in horror. Cena moved fast, cutting through an alley in his rental. He knew where Ray would run, the maintenance gate he had personally designed years ago as a fire exit. Only insiders knew the code. He screeched to a halt just as Ray rounded the corner, duffel bag in hand. Their eyes locked. "You," Ray hissed, realization crashing over him. "You're Kyle?" Cena stepped out of the car, calm and unflinching. "Close," he said quietly. "Just a guy who doesn't like being robbed blind in his own house." Ray froze, the bag slipping to the pavement. The zipper split open, bricks of cash spilling onto the asphalt. Behind them, sirens roared. Cops shouted commands. Agents poured into the lot. And in that moment, Ray Navarro realized he hadn't just been caught. He had been caught by the one man he thought would never see it coming. The owner himself, John Cena. Ray's breath came hard and fast, eyes darting between the flashing blue lights and John Cena standing solid in his path. "You don't understand," Ray spat, desperation edging into his voice. "This is bigger than you. Bigger than this shop." Cena's stare didn't waver. "Yeah," he said evenly, "I figured that out an hour ago." Before Ray could respond, another set of headlights cut into the lot. This time it wasn't police cruisers. A black Suburban rolled up, heavy and unmarked. The door opened. A woman stepped out, calm and steady, her badge catching the beam of the spotlight. "FBI. Mr. Cena," she said firmly, flashing her credentials. "Special Agent Laurentian. You've stirred up quite the nest tonight." Ray's bravado shattered. His jaw slackened, fear replacing arrogance. Two agents cuffed him before he could move. "You thought this was about a few stolen bikes?" Ray hissed, glaring at Cena as they hauled him away. "We were laundering millions. Bikes were just the beginning." Chin didn't blink. "Yeah, we know." Cena stood motionless as the words sank in. His brand, his pride, his dealership, it hadn't just been a front for theft. It had been hijacked as a machine for organized crime. Around them, the lot buzzed with chaos. Rachel was dragged out from behind a van, wrists locked in steel. Marcus was face down on the pavement, screaming he'd been set up. Tom sat slumped against the curb, pale and broken, papers scattered like fallen leaves. It was over. Or so it seemed. 3 months later, Cena Motors looked the same from the outside, but everything inside had changed. Security overhauled. Staff retrained. New hires vetted through strict filters. Redemption wasn't just for the business, it was for the people too. Cena had even brought in ex-street racers, veterans, and those who wanted second chances. One quiet morning, Agent Chin, now Linda to her colleagues, walked beside him with a tablet in hand. "Audit reports are in. No discrepancies. 0. Cena glanced at the numbers. "Perfect." He allowed himself the smallest of smiles. But then his phone buzzed. A message. "You don't know us, but we know you. You made a mistake that night." Cena stared at the screen. No signature. No clue where it came from. Just a cold reminder, the shadows weren't gone yet. He slipped the phone into his pocket, steady as ever. Not afraid. Not broken. Because if this battle had taught him anything, it was that his name, his legacy, and his house would not fall again. "Let's get to work," he told Linda, walking back toward the showroom floor. And for the first time in months, John Cena felt ready, not just to fight back, but to rebuild stronger than before.